101 division was to fight for this notion of self-determination. I didn't understand it, I didn't have any inkling at the time, but years later, now I understand that self-determination here on James Island is one of the reasons that I and many of you also served in uniform. So yes, if elected state legislature, if the Supreme Court struck us down this time, I would fight with all my energy to give us another chance and keep fighting until we finally get what seems to be guaranteed by the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and just our tradition as a democratic society.
I've been a proud resident of the town of James Island, or the dissolved town of James Island, as the case has unfortunately been for the past 14 years. I will continue to support the self-determination of the town, and if necessary, we work to pass legislation that will protect the existence of the town. Over the past 2 years, I served on the committee for medical, municipal, and military affairs, and quite frankly, most of what that committee deals with is medical. But there was one relatively unnoticed bill that came through my subcommittee that my concern was it would negatively impact the town of James Island. So together with the 2 other people on that committee, I worked to make sure that that legislation did not make it out of subcommittee, let alone to the full committee or to the floor. I will continue to be an independent voice for James Island and for Folly Beach. It is not about what the party bosses tell me to do. It is about what the people here want. Thank you.
And this next question is, do you support an increased role for technical colleges to help produce employable graduates? Mr. Platt.
Yes, I would support an increased role for technical colleges, especially in the context of the traditional 4-year colleges. Having lost a sense of perspective, if tuition increases, technical colleges are much more affordable for the people of the state, and they have a wonderful track record, so unequivocally, I would support an increased role for them.
Ms. Hutto.
I have supported an increased role and continue to support an increased role of our technical colleges. I have been a strong supporter of Trident Technical College. As I mentioned earlier, that technical education was a big part of the plan and a big part of the package that brought Boeing here. They're doing amazing things at our technical college, educating the people to fill the technological jobs, educating people for our hospitality industry. Trident Technical College is booming. Our technical colleges are filled to the brim and are functioning with relatively low tuition increases. We need our technical colleges, and I will absolutely support their increased role in our society and economy.
Mr. McCoy.
Not only would I support our technical colleges here in Charleston and in North Charleston, I've also been honored and privileged to actually teach criminal law at both of the colleges. I've taught at the one downtown, and I've taught at the one in North Charleston. I support the program they have there. They have a wonderful facility in both places, and I think it adds a lot to our community. I think it's an important part of our society, and I would certainly support any sort of legislation that would further that institution of learning.
Ms. Hutto, what can you bring to the people of Folly Beach and James Island that we are not already getting now, and there's plenty of work to be done?
It's sort of a tricky question to answer since I've been in it for the past couple of years. Certainly I will continue to be accessible to the people of James Island and Folly Beach. I've been asked by several people as I stood on their doorstep, so who do you represent? I said, well, I represent you. Who do you work for? I work for you. I've worked hard to work across the aisle. If you look at the votes I've cast, then they don't follow party lines. They follow what the people of James Island and Folly Beach want. I will continue to do that. My home is here. My office is here. I'm available by email. I'm available by phone. I will continue to be accessible and continue to be independent-minded and do what the people of these 2 islands want.
Mr. McCoy.
What I would add to being a legislator in Columbia for James Island and Folly Beach is this. Basically, we have unemployment that is out of control. I would work tirelessly, I would work hard to bring jobs and more jobs to this area, small businesses as well as the big ones. We currently have a House representative member who has voted against small businesses 78% of the time, according to one of the groups in Columbia. We also have a current House representative who has received an F from taxpayer supported from protecting our taxpayer dollars in Columbia. This is the type, we're in an economy right now that we cannot do this, we cannot stand for this, and we need somebody to fight for us. This is y'all's seat, this is Folly Beach and James Island's seat. I'm here to represent you, I'm here to help you. And another encouraging thing that I've heard, if I'm elected, and what I would also do, is I would give you updates. I would give you monthly or weekly updates as needed, through emails, through letters, through correspondence. We don't have that from our current representative. And that's something that I would bring to you so you know what's going on right now on James Island and Folly Beach.
Mr. Platt?
I happen to be a widower, retired. I don't even have a pet ever since my beloved cat went to heaven of animals. So I think I would have much more discretionary time to listen to and honor and attend to the concerns of my constituents. One thing I would amplify on though, even though I would be representing, many of us would be representing the people of James Island and Folly Beach, in a broader sense would be representing the state of South Carolina. It's a fairly small state, and I think some of the problems we have in the state is that elected representatives have been far too parochial. So my first priority would be to my constituents, and beyond that, to the good people of South Carolina in general.
Mr. McCoy, what would be your plan to help out the elderly and low-income population, especially with prescriptions and basic living expenses?
How I would help the elderly and people of low income would be just this. I support a bill that is going on right now in South Carolina. It's been in the House, and it's a fair tax bill. And let me tell you why I support this bill. What it does is it would eliminate income tax. It would eliminate corporate tax. It would eliminate taxes on several different issues on business-related problems. And I'll tell you why I would support this and why this would help. This will help our people, it will help our elderly by not having 7% of their income taken out in state income tax. It would help you when you're going to buy medicine to have that extra 7% in your pocket. And I think that's going to go a long way when it comes to helping the elderly, and I think that's very important.
Mr. Platt?
I would try to help the elderly by taking a course diametrically opposed to that of my worthy opponent, Mr. McCoy. I would fight a fair, so-called fair tax because it's really not fair. It involves increasing sales tax, which is inherently regressive, impacting most heavily on those who really support it. It seems that our legislature and other elected officials, for example, the Charleston County School Board, look at ever-increasing sales taxes as a panacea for every ill of our state and community. So what's left? Property taxes are as high as they need to be. What's left is income tax. I may be one of the few, if not the only, elected official and candidates in the state who recommends that we look at adjusting our income taxes because there are some of us in the state who are still employed or who have annuities and can afford to pay a little more. The beautiful thing, beautiful in quotation marks, about income tax is it's always based on current income. So if no one has income during a taxable period, then there's absolutely no liability. But if they make a lot of money, then they may be liable for a lot of tax.
Plain and simple. I would look out for our elderly and those on fixed income by holding the line on taxes. I can't believe my opponent says he supports a scheme that would get rid of their 7% income tax and put a 23% tax on their groceries, on their prescription drugs, on the very basic things they need. How does that help the elderly? That doesn't begin to help the elderly. He cites that I got an F from a taxpayer watchdog group. This is an extreme right-wing, Washington-based think tank that gave a D or an F to every member of the Charleston legislative delegation. He supports tax increases on the very basic things that our seniors need. I will continue to hold the line on taxes. I will continue to look out for our seniors. Yes, we have concerns about safety. We need to watch out for their safety. My opponent's been in law enforcement. He's been at the solicitor's office. I have consistently voted to support municipal government funding that pays for our police officers. I supported the warrantless search bill. I have worked to fight crime in the small way that we can in the State House. He's had the ability to fight crime here that's had an awful lot of plea bargains in his tenure at the solicitor's office.
Mr. Platt, specifically, what can the legislature do to increase the number of available jobs now?
This ties in with one of the earlier questions that we can provide reasonable incentives for businesses to relocate to our state. We can provide incentives for existing businesses to expand and provide more jobs. Beyond that, I have this notion that rather than laying off people in this national and the Great Recession, it would be better to keep everyone employed, even if they have to have a curtailed work week. Give you an example I've used a number of times with regard to State Highway Patrol, which is now a level, personnel level about 7 years ago, offering opportunities for new troopers to come aboard at a salary lower than what they could expect in normal times, with the understanding that when the state's economy improves, then the salary would be brought up to the normal level.
Ms. Hutto.
In order to increase the number of available jobs, we have to do two things. That's grow our economy and improve the quality of education in this state. We improve the quality of education by supporting K through 12 education, supporting our technical colleges, and strengthening higher education. We bring companies like Boeing to this state by offering well-planned, careful incentives that bring them here, by offering them the people who can do the jobs that they need through our institutions. We get our young people working by working to match